For just $15 a month, the PC Game Pass gives you access to hundreds of games with more being added monthly. It almost seems too good to be true, right? Well, it just might be. So today, we're gonna take a look and see, is Game Pass still worth it in 2025? Before you go renewing or canceling your subscription, let's ask the real questions. What kind of games do you get? Are they actually worth playing? How does it stack up against other options? And most importantly, is it something you'll actually use or just another subscription collecting digital dust? Let's start with the games themselves, because after all, that's what you're paying for. The PC Game Pass library is pretty huge, supposedly with over 400 titles and growing. You've got some big names like Forza Horizon 5, Call of Duty, Stalker 2, and even recent releases like Hollow Knight Silksong. But for every AAA banger, there's also a dozen indies and hidden gems like Stardew Valley, For the King 2, or Vampire Survivors. There are more interesting games than I expected, but not a ton that felt like must-plays for me. So that's the quantity of games, but what about the quality? Are these games actually worth your time, or are they just padding out the library? So I already kind of answered this, but I wanted to go a bit deeper. I looked through the most popular and top-rated Game Pass titles, and yeah, to be honest, the lineup is better than I thought it would be. You've got some massive releases like Black Ops 6 and No Man's Sky. Then there's Hollow Knight Silksong, which if you aren't playing yet, you probably have someone on your friends list who is. I still need to get this game, but Game Pass also has newer hits like Balatro, Clair Obscur, and Rematch. It's access to some of the new and trending games too. This is where the rotating monthly library comes into play, where every month they'll add and remove games just to keep it fresh. But it's not just about hype. I also checked Steam reviews and player counts, and the game picks aren't too bad here either. Games like Dead by Daylight, GTA 5, and Farming Simulator all have pretty huge followings with some positive Steam reviews. And as you can see, none of these games are hurting for players either. So yeah, these aren't just any random games that you'll find in your average Humble Bundle, but these are games people actually play and keep playing. That's a big difference from some of the filler you'll see elsewhere. So clearly, Game Pass isn't just tossing in any old title. These are real, popular games with active communities and strong reviews. But how does it compare to everything else out there? Like, should you actually be paying for Game Pass, or are there better options in 2025? Let's take a look. Let's start with the obvious contender, Steam. Steam usually has some of the best deals in gaming, especially around winter or summer months. The advantage here is that once you buy your games, they're yours, forever. No subscription, no rotating catalog, but that does come with a catch. You have to wait for the right sales, and you won't get day one access like you do on Game Pass. But I think so many gamers use Steam as their home launcher and even have a lot of memories tied to their account. I bet for lots of gamers, Steam is the only thing they'll know and that's all they're gonna use. But Humble Choice is another great option if you want to build a library instead of renting one. For about 16 to 18 Canadian dollars a month, you get to own a handful of DRM-free games each month, but the quality is hit or miss. I've definitely found some gems, but I've also built a massive library of games I'll probably never touch. I made a whole video on it to see if it's still worth it. Check it out in the description if you're curious. But Game Pass, on the other hand, Microsoft grants us the privilege to play these games without any commitment to owning it, which may or may not be better for your needs. For example, if you're interested in an expensive game like Microsoft Flight Simulator, instead of paying the full price, or even buying it off Humble Bundle, you can subscribe for a month in Game Pass to see if it's really worth it for you, and maybe you play enough and realize it's not. And then just for fun, let's talk about Ubisoft Plus. I actually never heard of this service until I was doing the research for this video. It's another big subscription service that tries to compete with Game Pass. For just $10 or $20 Canadian a month, you get access to a rotating library of PC games, and the $20 tier gets you day one access for titles like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and Star Wars Outlaws. It's a bit more expensive than Game Pass, sure, and yes, the selection is more limited to Ubisoft's own catalog, but it's still a decent option, especially since it comes with some other perks like DLC content and store discounts. Just make sure to check out the included games before subscribing to see if it's worth it for you. So while Steam and Humble are great for long-term collectors, and Ubisoft Plus has its own little niche, Game Pass still feels like the most well-rounded deal, especially if you like trying new games without the commitment. So is Game Pass still worth it in 2025? For most people, I'd say yes, it actually is. Whether it's the price, the game variety, or the day one access, Game Pass still delivers a ton of value, especially if you're someone who likes to explore and try new games, or if you're just starting out your PC gaming journey and don't own many games. But with that said, if you only play 1 or 2 games all year, or if you prefer to own your library permanently, then Game Pass probably isn't right for you. Like for me, it just doesn't fit my needs because I've already spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars building out my game library across different platforms and stores. So for people like me who already own a big library, I'd say a service like Game Pass just isn't the right pick for you. The only use case I could see myself using it would be to try out an expensive $80 game like I mentioned earlier, or maybe just to play a game for a month or two with some friends and then cancel. I think that's pretty useful. And if you're still exploring your options, check out my video on Humble Choice where I look at all aspects of Humble Bundle to see if it's still worth it in 2025.